The following is a Ham Radio Productions podcast. And hello, everyone. Ashley here again. I want to thank you all for joining me today on another episode of Through the Ham Radio podcast. And I will be discussing a topic today that's a little long overdue that I have been meaning to discuss for a couple weeks now, but had some other things come up and some other topics that I wanted to talk about first. But today I will be talking about everyone's favorite teenage couple, Mileven, and I know that you'll want to hear about that because I don't know if you have seen the recent set pics that have been released in the last few days. But you'll notice that not only in those pictures, which you can look them up, you can Google them, they're out there, that there seems to be certain people missing, two of which are Mike and 11. And if you are on Twitter or Reddit, you will have probably seen the outrage by some Stranger Things fans on those platforms because they want to see their favorite couple. And I mean, I understand. I was kind of hoping that by now we would have seen a picture of Will or 11 or Mike, or Jonathan, Joyce, Hopper. But so we did see Finn Wolfhard once, like back in October of last year when they first began filming. And it's very, very blurry, grainy. You can't really make out much. And that's been pretty much it. So basically the only, really the only, characters that we've seen set pics from have been Nancy, Steve, Dustin, Max, Lucas, Robin, and one of the new characters, Eddie, Erica, some more new characters we've seen. But in terms of the favorites, I guess you would say, or a few of the fan favorites, we have not. And in a way that I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I'm kind of thankful because I mean, I've already tried my best not to look at any set pics, look into any spoilers, anything like that. And I was good for like the first 3 or 4 months of filming for season 4 last year. And this year, I don't know, it was like, I mean, I guess I was getting anxious for everything, and I'm like, you know what, at this point, I don't care. I mean, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to look at the set pics. I'm going to read into these spoilers, whatever. And, I'm going to do it because especially now it's August. Now they've literally been filming season 4 for a year and a half. And I mean, this is not a complaint video about production. I mean, I know it takes time, but yeah, I'm gonna look into them. But So yeah, I'm kind of glad that there hasn't been any set pics of Mileven or Will or the rest of the Byers family or Hopper, because I mean, I would look at them and then I would be ruined. It just would be. Um, so I didn't really mean to get off on a rabbit trail there, but so I apologize for that. So I'm going to get into Mileven today, and you know, I've seen a lot of films and TV series with the teenage romance of kids their age, and this show is probably does the best out of all of them. I mean, granted, Mike and Eleven came to be in very unusual circumstances, but I think they're a cute little couple. Um, they've had their ups and downs, like most couples, especially at that age. It's puppy love. Um, but they've always managed to work it out. They've always managed to push through, um, and to deal with it the best that they could. And that's why I think season 4, for them and their relationship, I'm really looking forward to that part of the show or the season, because they really are going to be tested. Like, I think in 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 greater ways than they ever have before. I mean, they're literally like 3,000 miles, give or take, apart from each other now. And, in the 1980s, it's not like today. They didn't have FaceTime, they didn't have smartphones or Facebook, they didn't have any of that. So it was either you wrote letters or you called each other, which was, you had to pay for long distance calls. It was very expensive. Or you went and visited each other in person, which I think they're going to do this season. And 11 doesn't have her powers, so it's just not like she can you know check in on him all the time. And so I think that relationship will most definitely be put to the test this season, and not to mention all the other stuff that could go on this season. But I sometimes wonder when I go and rewatch um the series, um, and I'll get to this in a later episode, but this is kind of a precursor. Um, I wonder sometimes, at the end of season 3 and the end of episode 8, if Mike has any regrets about everything that's happened. Like, I wonder if he has any regrets of finding 11 in the woods and then deciding to take her home and let her into his life, and get so attached and fall in love with her. Um, because at the end of season 3, when the Byers and 11 have moved, and he goes back home, and Mrs. Wheeler runs up and hugs him, it was like, and the Heroes is playing in the background. It was just like in season 1 when we thought Will was dead. Except in season 1, he runs to his mom. He's crying. He's upset. But in the season 3 finale, Mrs. Wheeler goes to him, hugs him, tries to comfort him. Um, And he's just like completely spaced out, like completely devoid of like any emotion. He doesn't seem sad or really angry or really upset. He just seems so like helpless, like he kind of just hangs his arms. He just looks so defeated, like, man, I can't win. you know, it's like, I love this girl, and every time we get together, it seems like something tears us apart. And now, and also losing my best friend, and it's just, he looks so downtrodden, just so like, man, I just give up. And so I wonder with Mike in season 4 if they're going to tap into that, because I think, and not just with the his best friend and his girlfriend moving away, far away, apparently across the country. Um, he's gone through a lot of trauma, like a lot of traumatic experiences in his young life, for the past like 3 years, in the show. And, he was there when Bob died. I mean, that's got to be traumatic. Like, I can't even watch that scene. I skip over it every time because it's just so, so graphic. And it's just very hard to watch. I mean, it is. I mean, it's like they wanted you to know that Bob Newby is going to die. He ain't coming back. I'm like, why couldn't, assuming that Dr. Brenner is not alive, why couldn't they have done that to him? I mean, come on. Which, he's alive, by the way. In some form or fashion, he's alive. Um, but yeah, and like, Mike was like, what, 13 when that happened? And it's like, I can't imagine being 13 years old and witnessing that, and not, and just being able to go on with life as if nothing happened, like it never happened. I can't. And it's like, I always wondered why we didn't see Mike begin to, show signs of, all the trauma, why we didn't begin to at least see signs in him in season 3. It's like season 2 ended a story arc, and season 3 began another one, and they just completely left the other one in the dust. And it was like, I mean, I know, you got this girlfriend now, you've been dating for 6 months, but it's like, when he goes to bed at night, he still has to think about that stuff. I mean, I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's just, sometimes the writing for this show just sometimes behooves me sometimes with the little things that they have missed. But I digress. Um, so yeah, I think Mike in season 4 will be a little bit, there's going to be a darkness surrounding him. I'm not saying that he's gonna, you know, be like the Billy of season 4, because I don't know. He very well could be. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think Mike will be dealing with a lot in this season. I really do. I think it's like, just, I think he's reached boiling point. And, Finn Wolfhard did say a couple months ago in a cameo that people were going to be looking out for Mike this season. And it's like, he's always the one looking out for everyone else. And so it's it'd be good to see them, uh, you know, trying to help him this season. And it's led me to kind of come to my own theory. This is a theory. This is my theory. It's not. You probably won't see this one out on Twitter, but what if the villain this season, who I think, by the way, will be human, who is being is both a human, let me put it this way. It's a monster in the the shape of a human. Looks like a human, talks like a human, human, but it's a monster. And I mean, I kind of wonder if, Mike is going to visit 11. There's been reports to confirm that. But what if it's not really Mike? What if Mike, this human monster thing, villain, is in Hawkins, gets close to Mike, does something to Mike where he wants, this monster wants to get to 11, best way he can to destroy her, and he does something to Mike, like possesses him or something, and the Mike that goes to visit 11 and Will, is like a possessed Mike that we're going to gradually see over the course of the season while he's out there. And, he's trying to, tries to get 11 back to Hawkins, so, or tries to kill her. I mean, I know that's an outlandish theory. It probably won't happen. There was a time when I thought that a Netflix show, with kids like this one, would not go as far to do that to one of their characters. But then I saw Fear Street and thought otherwise. And if you ever seen Fear Street, it's definitely Stranger Things 2.0. Ross Duffer's wife directed and produced those movies, and you can definitely tell that she and her husband have communicated. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, I expect a different sort of Mike in season 4. Now, in terms of 11, each season it's like, she gets braver. She's just got such a good character development over the course of the series. And, it's necessary. I'm looking forward to seeing 11 just as much as any of the other characters. And I've kind of seen this kind of tossed around that some fans do not think that 11 will be as involved in the show as in seasons past, and I don't believe that. I mean 11 is like the character of the show. I mean, there's no denying that. I just cannot see Stranger Things, completely tossing her to the side just because she doesn't have powers anymore. Now, I will say though, I think because of that, because of her, she doesn't have any powers anymore. I can see them trying to go a little bit of a different route with her. Um, in terms of what that may look like, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. Maybe she's throwing some punches. But I mean, I will say this: I've heard that there's going to be a bully at 11 and Will's new school, a bully named Angela. And I'm not gonna lie, if this were to happen, I would be all for it. I would love to see 11 like get into a cat fight with a bully. I think that would be cool. And I'm not, I don't really know how it would start, but I mean, I don't know. I think 11, she could, I think she could throw some punches. I really do. So if that happens, I think that'd be pretty great. But not that I support violence. I just think for her, for 11, I just want to see 11 do something more than just scream and cry. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown does a great job. I'm not denying that. I love Millie Bobby Brown as an actress. I think she's wonderful. Um, she really brings that character. She really brings that character to life. Um, I mean, I could not imagine anyone else portraying 11. I just can't. Um, but I think 11 has more to her than just that. And I'll kind of go back to last week's episode of, there's a lot more to 11 than just her powers. I think maybe that's what, Mike was trying to get Max to see is like, look, her powers are cool and that's great. And, she's helped us out get out of a lot of stuff with her powers. But at the same time, they're valuable and they're fragile. And you can't just play around with them, you know? And I mean, I know Max is very new to all this, and hopefully, season 4 she'll have learned. But I mean, it's like, did no one explain to Max that 11's powers are the reason that all of this is happening? Because she did open the gate and let all this world and everything in it into our world. And so I think in season 4, I think it'll be good to see a vulnerable 11, because I think at at her lowest point, her most vulnerable, I think we really are going to be able to see 11 at her core. She's one way or another, an evil force has got to be defeated, and we all know that she has got to be the one that defeats it. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I'm really excited to see 11 in season 4. And I hope by then, that point, like, it's going to be awkward for Mike when he shows up to visit 11 and Will, and like, how is Will going to handle that? Is he over all that? Is he finally realized, hey, everyone's grown up, I gotta let it go? And I mean, I understand where Will's coming from. I really do. I've been there, done that. Sometimes it can be hard. It can be difficult. To realize everyone is growing up and times are changing. But we have to embrace that change. We have to accept it, just like what Hopper said in his letter. But I will say, at the beginning of the season 3, it wasn't just Will. Like all of the party, did not like Mike and Eleven hanging out all the time. All they want to do is sit around and make out. They don't want to play. But I mean, I understand why Mike wanted to spend a lot of time with her and was always with her is because Eleven wasn't allowed to leave the house. So I mean, where would they be able to go? Apparently she was not allowed over to Mike's house. So I mean, I understand where he was coming from, and I mean, Lucas and Dustin. I mean, I know Mike. Excuse me. I know Will. Bless his heart, he wasn't there seasons 1 or 2, so he, doesn't really know, understand. But you would think you'd expect Lucas and Dustin to understand, like, Mike has been infatuated with this girl ever since we found her in the woods. I mean, he fell in love with her from the get-go. And, like, why are you expecting anything different? It's the summer of love. And they should also understand the circumstances around Mike and Eleven's relationship. I mean, her name is a number because she was a test subject in a lab, and she has to live out in a cabin in the woods with her adoptive chief of police father because the U.S. government apparently is not done with her for some reason. So that you would at least expect them to understand. But I also, what I really, from 11, I really want to see from 11 in season 4 is how does she handle being like without Hopper and without Mike? She's going to have to make it pretty much on her own. And I think that's part of the good thing about her and Max having that friendship was, she kind of did teach her how to, utilize some independence. And I thought I was really good at the same, but at the same time, 11 was still doing what someone else kind of told her to do. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Max was very much like, you know, you need to think for yourself. You need to do this. You know, you need to dump Mike. If he and it's like 11 really didn't want to do that, but she did it because Max was like, hey, if he can't explain himself, dump his ass. So I really want to see 11 think on her own 2 feet and what she wants, what she needs, and I'm hoping we'll see some more independence from her in season 4. So that's all I have for today. Sorry to keep it a little short today. Um, obviously there's a lot more that I could go into, but I may say that for a later episode because it does have to do with Will, and that's a whole nother thing in itself. So thank you for listening today, and over and out.